cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers. Happy Tuesday, January 14th to all of you. Thank you for watching Sports Book Review. This is Betting with the Bag. We got a huge NHL schedule, and we have Parlay Poppy making his triumphant return to the show. Then we have 6 NBA games. We're going to have Teddy Covers joining us about 30 minutes after Poppy to break down those NBA games, and then Maxwell Smart to break down a giant NCAA basketball card. I had a very enjoyable time on the live line last night with the national championship game. Thank you guys for joining us last night. It was very fun. Lost a $200 bet on Clemson plus 5.5, but got $137 back on a $100 bet at plus 137 on the under 5.5 passing touchdowns. And thank you to Trevor Lawrence for throwing 0 to get me under that 5.5. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Mark Unkefer, Cobra Sports 609, Barry Gockner in the house, says off work today. Stoked to finally catch a live show. Great to see you, Barry. Carlos Perot says college football's over. Now onward we go. A Brusham in the house. Jeffrey Ryan. We got Stephen Lewis, Paco Healy, Gerald Jones, Rye Kate, Matt Randall, and Merrick Drexley, Mr. Ghoster, Gabriel Hernandez, Sammy Aniba, Ja'Cory Howie, James Brooklyn Funk Project, Mitch Bruner, Silver Malco. What a great DJ Big Boss, Steve Dunn. What a great group. Austin Kowalski, Tomarino, Tomor says Celtics at home continue to cash. Philadelphia continues to be trash on the road. There is Prince of the City. You got Moss, Roman Pedal, Ron Crawford, John Williams. The team is together. Let's get after it right now. Let's get Parlay Poppy on the horn as soon as possible. We have a big NHL schedule to break down. Yesterday was a one-on-one day in NHL, and the under 6 was a terrible move in that Rangers-Islanders game. Dom Ricci was on the over 6. Dom Ricci was also on the Rangers. Dom Ricci seeing things clearly in NHL. We did hit that Blues minus 1.5 very easy. I think Dallas Eakins is going to be fired. And the Ducks are playing that way. Okay. Let's get to work right now. We're going to start breaking down this NHL card. I expect Parlay to be ready any minute. And let's start with popping up that NHL record. That continues to be a disappointment, even with a one-on-one day yesterday. I'm still upset when I look at it. This is supposed to be my bread and butter, and it has not been. All right. And Taint play today, coming off a winner. Going to make it 4 Taints in a row, says Matt Randall. Love that. Also, we have winners coming in from Maxwell Smart, who's hit back-to-back plays of the day. There's Dale Robinson, Jaspers in the house. Christopher Carter says Clemson have some defensive backs that better hope the NFL don't see that tape. Brutal. Tommy says, I bet Blues to win the division even money last night. Colorado's lack of depth and defense is still an issue, no doubt. Barry saying Bruins minus 1 and plus 117. They got to be furious after last night. Let's start with the Knights and Sabres. And let's open up the best odds page on the planet, sportsbookreview.com SBR odds page. Vegas opening up at minus 140. They're now at minus 166. This total was juiced to the under. It's now juiced to the over. What to say about this Vegas Knights team other than they're just an average team? They're just average. 10-8-3 on the road, 24-18-6, which means they've lost 24 games and won 24 games. They're just average. They're not getting discounts on their star players anymore. They're paying them a lot of money. Their second line is the most expensive second line in sports. And they've lost 3 in a row all at home. They're playing terrible in the first period. They're coming off a 3-0 shutout loss at home to the Jackets, the beaten up, the Jackets team that's just suffering with tons of injuries. And they begin a 4-game road trip. It's actually an 8-game road trip that's separated by a couple things. It's separated by the All-Star break and separated by that mandatory week off that each team has to take. The Golden Knights have allowed the first goal in 6 straight games. Sabres are coming off a 5-1 dismantling at Detroit on Sunday. There's Emmanuel ready to get to work. Tom Reno says Leafs defense is trash. I can't do anything but bet overs with them. I agree with that. And Paco Healy says hot taint can be musty. Hot taint can be musty. It can be. Knights, Sabres. Mr. Go says massive road trip for the Knights. Tomino says Knights look strong at times, but their defense almost always falls apart at some point in the game. Man, what do you want to do here? What move do you want to make here with the Knights and Sabres? I've actually not made any bets yet. I wanted to talk all these games out, and I've done nothing with this Knights-Sabres game. At this point, we'll see if Parlay Poppy has a move on it. Let's move on to Devils-Leafs. We have to work quickly. We only have 29 minutes before Teddy Covers joins us. Let's talk about this Devils-Leafs spot here. New Jersey, Toronto opening up at minus 255. They're now minus 256. How do we not bet the Devils at this price? How do we not bet the Devils at this price? Silver Malcolm says Knights will be away from home for a month. Sure, but they will come back because they have the All-Star break and then that mandatory 1 week off. So it's not as bad as it sounds, this 8-game road trip. Mitch Bruner says, I tweeted my golf picks to you, Jimmy. Thank you, Mitch. I will retweet that. And there's Dave in Cal 48. Devils, Leafs. Devils coming off a very impressive back-to-back. They beat Washington on Saturday night in Washington 5-1. Then they followed that up with a 3-1 win over the streaking Tampa Bay Lightning. That Lightning squad had won 10 straight. So this is their third game in 4 nights. Mr. Gosa says Schneider is called up to back up Domingue. Yes, we have an upper body. Was it upper body injury? What is Mackenzie Blackwood dealing with? Yes, an upper body injury. Damian McCorston saying Devils have been hot. Devils have been hot. Kevin Pine, we were thinking about you last night, and just thankful to have you in the chat right now. And man, losses hurt, and there's no other way to say it. The losses hurt. But the sun rises, and we get after it. Thank you, Dave in Cal. Slats, 45 under in the Bruins and Columbus game over. Leafs also bet Coyotes minus 132. Halmerson back in the lineup is huge. It is huge, but it's going to take him a little while to get rolling. So what do we do with this Devil squad and Louis Domingue? First off, the 6.5 was juiced to minus 125. It's now at minus 132. Means a 7 could hit the board. Tormino says, I've been cashing with the Leaf shots on goal props. Matthews over 3.5 shots on goal. Looks good. That's a very interesting spot. Gas Station Susie says, Joe Burrow lights up the victory cigar like Winston Churchill. He did. Yanni Toon says, Leafs goalie stink. They aren't playing well. There's no doubt about it. We're expecting Frederik Andersen to be between the pipes. 2.82 goals against average. 9-12 save percentage. Jeffrey Ryan dropping 2 dimes on Massachusetts here. You got Moss says Devils letdown spot for me. I hear that. But do you want to back these Leafs who are now missing both Morgan Riley and Jake Muzzin? And it's going to be a long time before either of them come back. Maple Leafs have lost 3 straight. They're now 15-6-2 under Sheldon Keefe. They're coming off a 3rd straight loss, an embarrassing 8-4 loss at Florida on Sunday. And Kyle Palmieri, the leading scorer for the Devils, out with a lower body injury. And there's Jeffrey Ryan saying, I'm dropping 2 dimes on Max's pick of the day. It has hit twice and a row. Thank you. Dave in Cal 48 says, hit the links all time to show support for Jimmy. Thank you so much. And we do have Parlay Poppy ready to get to work. His triumphant return. We've only broken down 2 games, 9 left on the card. And we have 26 minutes to finish the rest of the card. Parlay Poppy, welcome back to the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, man, what's poppin'? We're here. We're live. Last time you guys might have saw me, I was in a bathhouse. But you know what, man? I was a victim of human trafficking, but now I'm back. A lowbagger DM'd me and got me out of a really sticky situation. No pun intended, Jimmy the Bag. SBR lowbaggers, we're here. We're live. Let's get it popping, guys. What's good?
It's great to see you, man. It's great to see you. We miss you. Oh, Junior Brown in the chat as well. Stick around for our basketball, Junior Brown. We need your help and guidance. Love seeing Junior Brown in our chat. Nut Flush Allen ready to get to work. You got Moss. All right, let's get to work. Did you make a move on Knights Sabres? Parlay Poppy.
Well, let's get it straight. Vegas goes on these runs. They need to get out of Vegas from time to time. It's a very hectic city. It's a little bit of a city of sin, you know what I'm saying, Jimmy the Bag. But they got to turn things around right now before they dump down in that Pacific Division. I mean, first period problems from Stone and Pacioretty clearly state they're not playing cohesively. They say that. They say they're just skating around. What does that even mean? I'm just skating around. you know, they said that verbatim after that horrible loss to Los Angeles, and they aren't aggressively checking and have self-admitted to being soft, non-competitive in the opening minutes of games, allowing guys to get off on them. Not to mention Vegas has allowed 6 of 11 power plays in the last 5 games. Playing from behind consistently is not a way to win. I mean, Buffalo has been mauled in the last month, and we've all been making money fading them on the puck line, right? But at the same time, with that power play of theirs that sharply has declined, you know, oh God, who's to trust in Buffalo right now? The only time you want to back Buffalo is at home with Ormark, right? So does this seem like the spot to do it? I don't know. I mean, we could have had a chance to have Vegas to minus 145, juiced up, steamed up to minus 165. Right now, I think the only way to look is regulation. But, man, this is not a game I'm really interested at all, Jimmy the Bag.
Nor am I, and I have yet to make a move on anything on this card. The other game we've already talked about, Poppy, is this Leaf spot. Leafs looking bad without Muzzin and Morgan Riley, and we talk about it often on the show. We've talked about it for 3 years. When do you fade a team? When they're missing 2 of their top 4 defensemen, which is happening here. Devils coming off 2 huge wins, 3rd game in 4 nights, and I am hesitant to make a move, but it's Devils or nothing for me. Even if the Leafs are in a bounce-back spot after that embarrassing 8-4 loss, this total's creeping up to 7 possibly soon. Poppy, are you making a move on Devils, Leafs?
I am. I mean, I'm really surprised at where this line opened up. I mean, no steam coming in at all on Detroit. Let's get it straight. The Maple Leafs have changed nothing on the defensive end. And, you know, this team really seems to identify with that, right? And now, especially with Morgan Riley out, and we got Rasmus Sandin from the Marlies coming up to fill that void. Is that going to change a damn thing? Absolutely not. You know, the Devils, you know, firing the GM Shero, I don't think that was something that the club wanted. You know, they just stated, Coleman said, you know, he's a good leader. He's not with us anymore. He's the reason we're all here. It sounds like they really support the guy, despite them just absolutely sucking for the most part of this year. And we know that there's so much talent on the Devils. And yes, they did triumph over the elites in Tampa Bay and Washington. But, you know, they're without Palmieri today. But they did win versus Tampa Bay without Palmieri either. So, Jimmy, it is going to be Devils today. And I think this line is just way too off for me not to take any type of advantage of it. I mean, you're telling me that the Tampa Bay Lightning hosting the Kings, right? Comparative line. The Kings versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is minus 280 versus the Kings. And now we have the Devils on a hot streak, playing a little better. You know, Mr. Louis Domingue, I mean, we know he was decent last year, but at the same time, he's coming in a little hot too. Toronto in the midst of a 3-game skid. How do we not take the Devils somehow here? This line is inappropriate, my dude. I think we're going to go Devils team total over 2.5 at minus 115, Jimmy. And I think the only way for me to look is the Devils' first period. I don't think that they're going to be able to close this game out. But I do think they're going to come up real strong against this absolutely dismantled blue line on Toronto. So that's 2 plays here, Jimmy, on these red-hot Devils. The team total over 2.5, and we're going to go first period plus 170 for that cash buck price.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger at this point, but it makes perfect sense for you to back the Devils at this big plus money spot, regardless of 3rd game in 4 nights. Leafs penalty killing at 75.8%, and then you take out Muzzin and Riley, and what a mess. I mean, the Devils' 14.3% power play may not be able to take advantage of it. Louis Domingue, character guy. People love him in the dressing room. Is he going to be able to take the reins now that Blackwood is out of the lineup? Let's move on to Kings Lightning, LA Tampa. Here's another huge line. LA opening up at plus 245. Actually, I bet you this is opener from 5 dimes. Yes, it is. Let me move over to Pinnacle.
It opened last night, Jimmy. I think Jack Campbell was supposed to be who was in net, and based on that, they took it down for a second. Now I see Jonathan Quick is probable. So that changed a little bit of my approach and also probably where that line's at right now, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, Campbell's got an 894 save percentage. Quick's been bad. They've both been bad. Lightning 10-game winning streak came to a halt against the Devils. 3-1 loss on Sunday. Palat returned after missing 1 game with a lower body injury. Kings are coming off 2-0 loss to Carolina on Saturday night. They show nothing. The Kings show nothing at all. 15% power play, 75% penalty killing, 2.51 goals per game. But again, I mean, do you want to take the Lightning here on a minus 1.5? How are you handling this spot?
I think this is a tricky spot for the Lightning. We know Maroon's not going to be in, is he, Jimmy? And I imagine John Cooper's probably going to sit the other guy too, because you would want them to kind of rest up before this massive 6-game road trip the Lightning have coming up. And I will say, to the Kings' credit, the defense has improved a little bit. And, both Tampa Bay and LA have had the most effective power play kill, even better than the San Jose Sharks in the last 11 days, I believe. So, if anything, I think it might be a tighter scoring affair due to the fact that I think Tampa Bay does need to rest some of the guys and, not play to absolutely blow the lid off the Kings here in this spot before they go on this giant road trip in 2 days. So, I don't think that it's any way, shape, or form I want anything to do with the Lightnings. I don't want anything to do with the Kings. I don't want anything to do with the total, Jimmy. This is a big pass for me.
I get the pat. This does have some similarities to me of the Blues spot against the Ducks last night. Tampa coming off that loss. They're playing such strong hockey. I mean, take McDonough out of the lineup, it hurts. Take Maroon out of the lineup, who cares? I just feel like this is a spot where Tampa gets back on track and smashes. I'm coming close to this minus 125 or minus 105, minus 1. Jim Rummy says, I took Kings last time versus Vegas plus 251. I'm going back to the well today at plus 250. Price is worthy. I get it. Mr. Gosher saying Vasilevsky's been lights out in January. It just has a similar feeling.
I believe McElhaney will start today for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a spot for McElhaney. Do you have that confirmed?
No, but I did see the same thing with Campbell last night. I was checking out probability goaltenders, and the same two sites were saying now it's the complete opposite. It's Jack Campbell and McElhaney. So I'd lean up. Honestly, if it's quick and McElhaney, that might be a little bit of a different type of approach because I could see goals coming in. That's actually a better look, in my opinion, if you're having McElhaney and you are supporting the Kings. So I might wait a minute to see. I don't think that there's going to be much flex on this line either way.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a move here, and I'm certainly not going to take a over 6 with the way the Kings offense has looked of late. Mr. Gokster, liking your look. We have Ricky, Bobby, and Jin Rummy liking the value that they're being offered with the Kings. I do lean towards this minus 1.5 and expect the Lightning to continue to roll after their 10-game winning streak stopped. All right, let's move on to Nilo in the house. Nice to see you. And Michael Jordan says, my jailhouse book doesn't do hockey. Hit the link at the bottom of the page, MJ. Get you a book that does hockey, man. Hit the link at the bottom of the page. All right, let's move on to Wings Islanders. What a mess of a season for Detroit, but hopefully they will get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Islanders opening up at minus 261. There's been a big move, a 28-cent move towards the Red Wings. This total sitting at 5.5. There's been a 9-cent move towards the under. It's now juiced to the under, and Mr. Gosing very well could be McElhaney. And only knows the man who makes unders great again, giving us a dead under. A dead under in Nebraska, Ohio State. I'm going to copy and paste that right now. Bernier, who's been, serviceable, is now hurt. And Jimmy Howard has to step up. Or what? Or he gets sent to the Miami. He's been just awful this year. 4.10 goals against average, .880 save percentage, 2.15-1. Going up against these Islanders. Wings are scoring 2.15 goals a game. Howard has allowed 5 goals in 3 of his past 4 starts. Allowed 5 on 27 shots against the Sabres on Sunday. They've lost 5 straight on the road. Islanders on the second half of a back-to-back. An embarrassing loss. 6-2 last night. And unacceptable. Unacceptable loss. Trotsy's not going to have that. Islanders have won just 4 of their past 11 games. What to do here, Poppy? Wings Islanders.
Another one of these crazy lines, Jimmy. I mean, it's interesting to see how Islanders are going to respond to that fucking shellacking by them Rangers. I think they got to go with Greiss, right? Because he did come in to save some face for Mr. Sergei Varlamov. But, Greiss has an identity crisis. He does not look very good right now. And at minus 265 for the Islanders, that's dangerous. And come on, I mean, if you're going to take a puck line on the Islander to justify some way that you really need to put a bet on these damn Islanders, I mean, is there even value there? They've covered 1 puck line in their last 4 or 5 wins, Jimmy. And speaking of Jimmy Howard, probably the worst starting goaltender in the NHL, in my opinion. Who's worse than this guy? I don't know. And with that being said alone, the only time you want to have any type of support, only time maybe perhaps in your life you really are thinking about putting money on these Red Wings, please go figure your life out if that is your mantra, betting on these Red Wings. Jesus Christ. The only time you want him is Bernier. Bernier is not in. He's hurt. This line's outrageous. Pass game.
I agree. I mean, those of you who are liking these big favorites, at least they're at home. Islanders are embarrassed.
I mean, maybe a over, Jimmy, if you're thinking about it like this. Jimmy Howard, we do know, is very susceptible. Grice, I mean, he does not look sharp at all. But do we trust Detroit enough to put up any type of offense? And I think the question is, I don't know. So if you really have to reach on this ridiculous game, I think the over is the only look. But good luck on this one.
I have some interest in that over 5.5. I think you are right. Grice has looked susceptible, and what's Howard going to do? And the Islanders should come out fast. All right, let's keep rolling along. Tomer says Islanders' schedule has been very tough recently. They should be able to cover the puck line here. All right, let's move on to Wild at Penguins. Sidney Crosby coming back. Do we make a move on these Minnesota Wild right now? They're a hard team to trust. Coming off a 4-1 loss at home to Vancouver on Sunday night. They've lost 3 straight games, 5 of 6. They've scored just 1 goal in 4 of those 6 games. Penguins coming off such an impressive sweep of a 3-game road trip. They're playing so well. They play so well against the Western Conference, 19-4-2 against the West. And we're going to have Sidney Crosby back in action. Is there a move to make on Jimmy? Minnesota Wild? Poppy, take it away, my friend.
So you saw that for sure. I saw that was still questionable.
Yes, I believe it's been confirmed that Sidney will be back in the lineup.
So what's our line at now?
Let's see. The change in Minnesota, there's been a 20-cent move towards the Pittsburgh Penguins, a 19-cent move. It's now minus 198 for Pittsburgh.
So if we thought about it last night, we could have got that at minus 180. That being said alone, with the Penguins, with Crosby coming up, I understand that we do like to get on the opposing side, in this case, the Minnesota Wild, when the star comes back. But you know what, Jimmy? In the Penguins situation, I just don't think that it works out that way. I mean, Sullivan has done such a great job for these guys. This definitely coach of the year candidate right here. This dismantled, this injured team. I really thought Gensel was the nail in the coffin, and that, you know, the Penguins were really going to start losing some games, but they're not. And this is also a team that does not play down to competition. You do see some better teams in the NHL who actually lose or break even versus teams that are losing. The Wild are not in a 500 plus spot. They're not above 500, right? They're a losing team. The Penguins are still winning 63% of those games. And with that being said alone, I couldn't go on the Wild here, you know, regardless of Crosby being in or not. I think that Dubnyk on the road is always susceptible, and I've said for I just don't trust. I think he's a pretty terrible goaltender in my opinion, and it actually wouldn't surprise me if I saw Matt Murray come into play today, and that would be another look on the over here. But, you know, this is a Minnesota team that's converting 6% of their shots into the net in the last 5 games. That's really terrible. Minnesota team on converting 17% on the power play. A Minnesota team that, despite being 11 on the road, is 2-5 in their last 7 road games. I want no part of Minnesota today. And for me, the only look would probably be Penguins in regulation, but I'm going to take a pass on this one.
Dubnyk has had a tough year dealing with the illness of his wife. Generally speaking, he's being a quality goaltender. Clearly,
he was bad last year on the road too.
But with these Wild spots where the Wild aren't scoring and the Pittsburgh Penguins are playing such complete hockey, I have to think on the Taint play today and the Spidey play todays are in on the copy and paste. I have to think the under 6 is live here. Poppy, I guess the idea is to wait and make sure that Yari is in net.
Exactly. I would think Matt Murray would get some ice time in this situation, which actually doesn't help the over. But I do think Yari being in net makes that over live. This is kind of a wait and see who's going to be confirmed type of goaltending situation here.
I agree. That's what I will do. That's exactly what I will do. So I'm just going to leave a lean towards the under. a lean towards the under. Okay, let's keep rolling along. Bruins Jackets, man, this Jacket train keeps rolling, Poppy. Bruins open up at minus 142. They're now minus 137, a 5-cent move towards the Bruins. This total at 5.5 was heavily juiced to the under at minus 134. Now it's at minus 129, so a 5-cent move towards the over. Bruins coming off that wild game. I've never seen anything like that shootout in my life. Marchand skating over the puck and touching it. It's just shocking. Shocking. And they're now 0-7 in shootouts. It's just strange what's going on there. Merzlikins looking good as the starter. .915 save percentage. He is rolling. Tuukka. Did Tuukka go? Was that Tuukka in net last night? For some reason, I was watching the national championship and I had the game on the side. I believe it wasn't Tuukka. Tuukka's in net.
It was Halak.
Yeah, it was Halak. Tuukka's in net tonight. Bruins power play at 28%. Penalty killing at 83.5%. And look at that Jackets penalty killing at 81%. It's moving up in the right direction. Bruins have lost 4 of their past 7. 3 of those games, three of those games were after regulation. Jackets coming off 3-0 shutout win in Vegas on Saturday. Merzlikins in his last 7 starts, 1.88 goals against average, .943 save percentage. Pierre-Luc Dubois rolling right now. Werenski rolling right now. Sonny Milano back from injury. What are you doing here, Poppy? Bruins Jackets.
We'll break this down short and sweet. We got a couple more games. Not too much time left, Jimmy, but Halak and Rask are pretty interchangeable to me on the road. Merzlikins is a absolute star right now. I don't know how much I trust him, but remember this: Boston have a home-and-home game against the fierce Penguins, Jimmy. The Penguins we just talked about in 2 days. So this game, I don't know how important to Boston it's going to be from that angle. Now, from my angle specifically, I have Boston rated significantly lower in my weekly power rating for the NHL. They are so far off. I am taking this blindly, Jimmy. Obviously, I do a little research, a little, maybe Google creep something, maybe Wikipedia a little bit. But I'm taking them. I'm taking the Blue Jackets today at plus 125, Jimmy, as a home underdog. Bad price, and I'm taking advantage of that line.
Yeah, I get why you would. Man, I'm just being hesitant with this card all day. I've been hesitant all, yesterday and today. Let's move on to Blackhawks at Senators. Senators are a bad hockey team, but they've been good at home all year. They opened up minus 117. They're now at minus 112. Does this losing streak hit double digits, Poppy? Marcus Hogberg in net. I don't trust him. I don't trust the Senators team at all. Blackhawks coming off a 4-2 home win over the Ducks on Saturday night. Kubalik scored in all 4 games of that 2-2 homestand. And the Senators, to me, just look like a bad hockey team. Their last win came before Christmas. And you're getting a nice line on the Blackhawks. But do you want Chicago as a road fave, 9-9-3 on the road? You making a move here, Blackhawks Senators?
Real quick, for a team that's so low on talent, I mean, DJ Smith, the coach for Ottawa Senators, is a candidate for me to be a coach of the year for what he's done with that team. Honestly, it's very impressive. These guys don't quit. They grind and they work, and they're not good players for the most part. With that being said alone, the only time you want to back Ottawa to me is when they are at home 11-7-3. They are above that 500 mark. But for me personally, I only back Ottawa when we have Nielsen in net, and he's got some issues going on. And Hodberg isn't bad, but he's 1-9, Jimmy. The Ottawa team doesn't win when he's in the net. And I certainly don't want to have the Blackhawks, so that they are on a streak right now. I think this is a fair price if you do like the Blackhawks. Leonard on the road has been pretty good as of late, winning 7 of the last 9. Blackhawks, 7 of the last 11. They have 1, so I can see why anyone would be on the Blackhawks. I do not think this is a predatory line, Jimmy, a trap line, any of that stuff. I do think it's priced fairly because Ottawa should be live. But they don't win with Hodberg in that. I think Blackhawks is the only way to look here.
I agree. I think the Senators' losing streak hits 10 games. I know they've been good at home all year, but they haven't been good at home lately. Mr. Gogs is saying Batherson up with the team, but D-wise, they suck. Our guy, Sportsman of the Year, Lucky Lefty, Conch Salad play today. He's in Maryland money line. Man, Tomarino Tomer says most teams don't respect Ottawa, but Blackhawks need wins. And that's well put. Blackhawks need wins right now. And I'm going to take the Blackhawks on the -1 line. I'm going to take the Blackhawks on the -1 line. While I'm line shopping, let's talk Canucks Jets. Man, do the Jets have the Canucks number. They just beat us and beat us and beat us. Man, I was shocked at reading some of these stats for the Jets. Beating the Canucks 9 straight times, 13 of the last 14. Vancouver's playing okay hockey. They have that blip on the radar in Florida when they got destroyed by both Tampa and Florida. They outscored 14-4 in those 2 games, but they've come back with 2 wins over Buffalo and the Wild. They're 1 for 20 in their last 5 games on the power play. Does the losing streak continue in Winnipeg, Poppy? Winnipeg opening up at -127. They're now at -129. What do you think?
Man, these are 2 teams headed on completely different trajectories. And yes, I understand that the Jets they've absolutely dominated the Canucks. I think the Canucks are 0-5 since the 2018 team. But man, what are you going to do with these Jets right now? With the Canucks, you got to look at it like this, that 9-game winning streak. Cool. They had a 2-game losing streak where they got blasted, but they did bounce back against some low league teams a bit. But to me, this is a buy-on team, these Canucks. I mean, it's indicated by that 48.13 expected goals for, which is 5th in the league with a PDO, just basically puck luck, right? We can just generalize it as puck luck. They're playing without the puck luck, and they're good enough shot-wise, high-danger chances of getting to be an elite level in the NHL overall throughout the season, and we're seeing it come into fruition with this type of winning streak. I mean, the Jets are, they're in dire straits. Talk about needing some wins. Like we're talking about the Blackhawks. Jets are kind of in the same predicament. They keep going on these very lengthy losing streaks, and they are probably the model of inconsistency in the NHL that I have really had not much success with trying to back. The only angle that you really could think would be that, yeah, the Jets have had the Vancouver Canucks number. But I do think that the Jets understand, look, this has got to be done. We know what position we're in, not just because of, who we're playing, but we understand that this might be the start of us actually completely falling off the entire playoff picture. I think the Canucks probably win, but I couldn't put my cash buck or recommend putting cash buck down on this alone because I expect a huge effort from Winnipeg. If anything, I do lean towards an over, but I'm also going to pass on this game here.
Jets have lost 6 straight at home. Hellebucks look terrible at home. Mr. Gokes are saying 5-4 Jets is an over in play. Markstrom has not looked good. I expect him to be between the pipes. That's an interesting look, Mr. Gokester, on that over, but it's at 6.5. I just don't like those 6.5s. All right, let's move on to Stars Avalanche. By the way, I'm getting a huge line on the Blackhawks -1. I'm getting +104 on the money line and +300 on the reverse.
+104 for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, very appealing.
That was their -120, right?
Chicago. No, sorry. Say that again, Poppy.
Blackhawks were at -120, right?
No. No, the Senators are the highest you can get them is at -120 at UWager. Senators opened up at -117. They're now at -112 at Pinnacle. There's not been a point yet where the Blackhawks have been the favorite.
Okay.
Let's move on to Stars Avalanche. Dallas, Colorado. Colorado opening up at -142. They're now at -135. This is juiced to the under 5.5. We have to work quickly here. Avalanche 3-6-2 over their last 11. They're a fresh group. They haven't played since that 4-3 loss to Pittsburgh on Friday night. 2-4-1 their past 7 games against the Central. Donskoy in concussion protocol. Stars are rolling under bonus off a 2-1 loss at San Jose on Sunday, but they're 9-4-1 under bonus. And they're playing good hockey. Good special teams. Avalanche, weak special teams. Avalanche coming back to earth. Are you making a move here? Stars, Avalanche.
Yeah, marquee matchup of the night, in my opinion. This is also going to be one of my plays. Jimmy, injury news on the Stars. Klimberg may come back, which is a big boost for them. 6 points in the last 5 games against playoff contending teams before he went out for a little bit. Corey Perry, right, out for a few more games from that amazing elbow. So for me, this is not really that big of a loss with Perry being out. Only 2 points in his last 5 games. But also, his relative course he scored, just basically how he's doing in relation to his teammates is at an 8, which is almost a career low, only generating 8 more chances. So for me, I don't even care. I don't care that this guy is out. I really like the line here on Dallas. I mean, the Stars started changing this around when they started talking about what they were doing in the third period, which you and I have discussed before, they certainly had a huge uptake in third period goals, along with continuing an undertrend. So they did not sacrifice any type of blue line efficiency to get more goal scoring, which is something you want to buy onto. I want Ben Bishop on the road against a divisional opponent. I mean, I want the Dallas Stars on the road, Jimmy, on the road. 9 wins and 2 losses with 2 days of rest. I mean, does that really count as a metric? No, but it's a cool stat, Jimmy. The Dallas Stars 13-8 against winning teams. Dallas Stars against the Colorado team, a little bit on the ropes here. I mean, last game of a 4-game road trip, it's always something we want to be wary on, but this price, plus 120, is just far too appealing for me to pass up. We're going on the Dallas Stars tonight, plus 120. Give me that buck.
I get it. I get the look. This game makes me uncomfortable. I found Colorado a tricky team to cap over the last month. I'm going to stay off of Stars Avalanche. Let's move over to Predators Oilers. Look, I don't think the Oilers are that good of a hockey team, but I'm shocked at the market whenever they're at home. I'm shocked that they're not a favorite here against Nashville. Now, Nashville has brought in Hines, and they've won 2 in a row. Sure, they won 2 straight, coming off 1-0 win at Winnipeg on Sunday. They're playing accountable hockey because of the new coach, and we know what happens with Turris and Duchesne. Once Hines has been there for 20 games, they're going to start, relapsing into that irresponsible defensive play. Cassian handed that 2-game suspension. You know what? I liked his attack on Tkachuk, and I liked Tkachuk's hits on Cassian, and I sort of liked Tkachuk not fighting and getting the power play and the Flames winning it. Like, I liked everything about what happened between Cassian and Tkachuk. The loss for the Oilers snapped a 3-game winning streak. That was a 3-1-1 road trip, and they begin a 4-game homestand. Draisaitl and McDavid rolling, but the Predators as a road favorite just makes me uncomfortable. Are you making a move here, Predators Oilers?
Man, I would like to take the Oilers. I can't. I mean, Nashville has killed them. I think that they've won the last 9 games since 2017. And I don't know how relevant that is, but I don't think that Nashville is the real deal. I don't trust Saros or Rene. I don't trust them to even put up shots anymore. I don't think that there's any way I could take Nashville. Cool, they won against the extremely struggling Jets and the Chicago Blackhawks, who are kind of in the same boat. And before that, the only ones against the King in their last 5 games. Edmonton is still kind of back and forth as they have been this whole year. I would say a B-level club, a mildly wild card contending type of team, if you just want to generalize things. So for me, the only way to look at it would be the Oilers, but I just don't want to have that in the back of my mind watching this game with my own money, knowing that the Predators have absolutely dismantled this Oilers team for years. And when we say years, I mean recently, in the last 2 seasons. So this is going to be a game I don't have any interest in betting on either way.
Yeah, it makes me very uncomfortable. Then the final game on the card, we got to be quick here, Poppy, is Sharks up against the Coyotes. Coyotes opened up at -138. They're now at -147, and this total under 5.5. Very interesting to see Logan Couture go down, and the Sharks get their shit together. Is surprising. Carlson's rolling right now. Brent Burns is hurt, but it looks like he's going to play. The Sharks have turned it around, and the only thing keeping me hesitant to back the Coyotes here is Aiden Hill. Small sample size. He's looked okay, but I don't know if I want to back him here. And I know the Spidey play of the day is the Coyotes. A lot of people backing the Coyotes. Are you making a move on Sharks Coyotes, Poppy?
Man, how hard is it to say we want to back Aaron Dell on the road? It's pretty difficult. The only way the Sharks can play is this new system that they're playing, which is actually slowing things down a lot, playing the trap game almost, Jimmy. And I think that against a smaller team like the Coyotes, I don't know how that's going to work out. I think that's not that type of matchup stylistically doesn't favor the Sharks. What I did like, if anything, would maybe be a wild shot on Arizona puck line, but that's absolutely overreaching because I think there's value there. Just on that price is pretty big, but there's nothing I want to do with Aaron Dell right now. I would like to see this game implement what I learned from it on how I want to take these Sharks because they're team I got some interest on right now, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant to make a move on it as well. I've been very hesitant with this card. I do have some interest in that over 5.5 in this Wings Islanders game. I have not made a move there. That's just a lean at this point. I do have interest in this under 6 in the Pittsburgh game, but the only moves I've made on this card, I'm on the Blackhawks -1 for a huge score, +104 money line, +300 reverse puck line, and I am adding the Tampa Bay Lightning -1.5 at -105. I expect them to roll here. And the other two spots are leans. I do not feel like this was an easy card. We've got to make moves, Poppy. So great to have you back on the show. Can you review your NHL action, please?
Yes, Jimmy, we're coming in back on fire with some heat, Jimmy. We're going with the Blue Jackets +120. We're taking them Devils in the first period +170. We're taking the Devils team total over. You're giving me a 2.5 at -115. Please give it to me. Also, our final play of the night, them Dallas Stars in a scary situation against the mighty Colorado Avalanche. Give me a break. They're taking it home today. Dallas Stars +120. You can always find me at Poppy_parlay, and I will see you in the upcoming week on some more betting with the bag. Peace out, low baggers. I missed you all very much, and talk to you very soon.
Great
Bye-bye.
to have Poppy back on the show. You've been very, very missed. Parlay Poppy back in action. We go right from Parlay Poppy to Teddy Covers, coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy, how are you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Oh, let me get my microphone here. Sorry. I'm doing okay, Jimmy. How about yourself? Can't say I enjoyed the game last night as much as I might have liked. All that said, I did bet some LSU in game, so it wasn't a nightmare. From a financial standpoint, but of course I had Clemson for the game, and that was no good. All that said, cash in the NBA. The NBA is running pretty good right now, Jimmy. So no huge complaints on a Tuesday morning. How about you?
No huge complaints. I put 200 on Clemson +5.5, but I got $137 of that back on the under 5.5 passing touchdowns prop, and Trevor Lawrence helped enormously with a 0 passing touchdown performance. Burrow almost got there on his own. And nice call on the Pelicans. I was very hesitant with Monday's NBA card, and that happens to me when I'm coming off a big day like we had on Friday. I just become some sort of hesitant to get back into the pool. But let's get after this NBA card right now. I've made no moves thus far. Dan Kelly coming in with his action. We also have MJ in the house, Michael Jordan in the chat. We have Ski Profit in the chat. Let's get after it. Teddy, have you got to the window with any NBA action?
So I have 3 leans, and I talked myself out of all 3. So at this moment, I haven't bet anything in the NBA. I have a couple opinions, but none of them bettable yet. We'll see. The lines might move between now and tip-off tonight. I'll certainly give you what I'm looking at, but I haven't made a move in the NBA today so far.
Well, let's take a look at these games and break them all down. Let's start with Suns, Hawks, Phoenix, Atlanta. Phoenix opening up at -5, quickly go down to -3. This total opens at 225, shoots all the way up to 229. So that tells me that Trae Young will be in the lineup. That's what that tells me here. Atlanta lost his 4 straight on Sunday, 108-86 at Brooklyn. They're 1-3 without Trae Young. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. And the Hawks shot 33% without him, 33% from the field, 25% from 3, 12 for 48. Suns coming off their second straight win. Teddy, Sunday's 192 home win over the Hornets. They've won 5 of 8. They've allowed 94 and 92 points the last 2 games. That's the first time they've had consecutive games while allowing 94 fewer since 2015. Oubre rolling. Booker coming off a bad game. Does Booker wake up here? Do the Suns wake up here? Suns pace last 5, 17th. Hawks pace last 5, 7th. Take it away, Teddy. Suns, Hawks.
So the only way I would look at this game is Phoenix, and I'm not getting there with Phoenix. Atlanta is what they are. They're an 8-win team at the halfway point of the season. They won 4 home games all year. It's not a Hawks team that I'm excited about asking to hang tough or win games in this point spread range. And as you mentioned, Trae Young back in the lineup. And again, the offense didn't work without him. They scored 86 against Brooklyn and got annihilated in that ball game. But, they're losing to the Wizards before that as chalk. So it's not like we're looking at this the Hawks team say, yeah, they're just about to get there. No, Atlanta's a long, long way away on both ends of the court. They really are. That said, Phoenix, you talk about, hey, they won back-to-back game. This team's not covering. It's chalk. They've been favored each of the last 4 games. Didn't cover any of them. They won twice. And the one before that against the Knicks, I remember watching that game. They were lucky as they didn't deserve to cover that. I'll just put it that way. They were -7. They won by 8. It was a tight game throughout. So it's not like Phoenix is putting teams away right now. It's not like this is a squad where, oh yeah, we can comfortably lay points on the road. They've been road chalk twice in the last 6 weeks. They lost both of those games outright. One at Golden State, one at Orlando. Lean Phoenix. I'm not going to get to the window with them.
Yeah, and the Herder props, they do interest me, but if it's a hamstring injury, I can't sit here and have faith that Trae Young will be good to go throughout the whole game. So it's just hesitant to make a move at all. And Ski Prophet said, Suns? Hell no. Suns? Hell no. Okay, let's keep rolling down this card. We have Jazz Nets next up. Utah opening up at -2.5. Road favorite now at 3.5, 4 at Heritage. This total starts at 218 and now at 220.5. Teddy, that total in Phoenix Atlanta is now up to 229. And God, the way Phoenix is playing and knowing that Trae Young's dealing with a hamstring injury, he's not going to play a ton, makes me think of going against this market move. What do you think about trying to get under that total in Phoenix Atlanta?
You're not talking about, neither team is going to slow down the pace, and neither team is known for transition defense or half-court defense. So I don't know what you're relying on to keep that game under. You know what I mean? The pace isn't there. The defensive efficiency isn't there. So that's one that it doesn't stand out to me, Jimmy. But again, it's not anything that I'm betting the other way. I certainly wouldn't talk you out of it. But I don't see a rationale for that under, other than that, well, the line moved and Trae Young's in and we don't know if he's right. But defensively and pace-wise, both these teams, you talk about Phoenix have slowed down of late. The Suns still tend to play at the pace of their opponent, and Atlanta's going to push.
Okay, yeah, I hear that. Let's focus on this Jazz-Nets game. We have Kyrie Irving back in the lineup, 21 points in 20 minutes, goes 10 for 11 from the field. God, this guy just turns it on whenever he pleases. Here, Nets are 5-10 since their last 3-game winning streak, going for another 3-game winning streak. Jazz are 14-1 in their last 15. They're rolling without Conley. They also have been winning. Donovan Mitchell, so he sat out with an illness. So Mitchell is day-to-day. We'll see Moutier if Mitchell is still sick right now. So he basically missed most of Wednesday's game as well. So he missed. So he's sick during Wednesday's game, scores 4 points, and then sits out against Charlotte on Friday. Are you making a move here, Jazz Nets?
So he's upgraded to probable for today. That's why the money's come on Utah. I lean Jazz. This is one of my 3 leans that I haven't pulled the trigger on. I absolutely leaned Utah here. But again, you're talking about a team that's 14-1 in their last 15 games. I feel like the markets are there with Utah. They're the bargains that were there with the Jazz, Well, if you remember, a month ago we were talking about Utah's in trouble, nothing's feeling right for them. Then Conley gets hurt and everything kind of works itself out for the Jazz. And it was very similar to what happened last year. And Snyder, again, is a coach who I have an utmost of respect for at the NBA level. I really do. And the Jazz are a one-way team for me right now. I mean, it's Utah or pass. And I think it's reasonable to look to bet against Kyrie tonight. Again, he was able to take advantage in his first game back of a team playing without their starting point guard, and a team that doesn't play any defense, and a team that was completely out of sync. And I think it's going to be much tougher, obviously, for Brooklyn tonight against a team that plays defense, especially with Mitchell back in the lineup. But from a value standpoint, I'm not convinced there's a ton of value on the Jazz at this stage. They've had their run. They've made their money. And when you're 9-1 last 10 ATS, and you're just now getting the window with them, to me, I lean Utah, but I'm not going to get there.
That makes sense. Our guy Gary joining us. Also, Corey Simmons, focus on your bets. Gooch. Play of the day. Utah Jazz -3.5. Tom Marino says Utah likely isn't as focused here with Mitchell back. Ski Prophet said, like Jazz all morning and hesitated. Found a weird stat for the Nets, though. Viper B is on Utah. And this is a stat Ski was talking about. It says Nets 120-36 against spread as a home fave off being a fave after a win. Interesting look there. Bloods W like in Brooklyn first half. And Tormino says, disagree. Kyle was out a long time and he didn't play many minutes. He should be fine. All right, let's keep rolling along on this card. Let's see what's next up here. And that would be Knicks Bucks. Knicks Bucks. Let's see what sportsbookreview.com SBR odds page is telling us here. Knicks Bucks. Bucks open up at minus 17.5. Goes down to 17 or 16.5. It's actually 16.5 everywhere except Pinnacle that's still hanging the 17. This total opens up at 227. It's now 227.5. Bucks playing at a nice fast pace last 5. Second in the association. Knicks pace last 5. 13th. Knicks snapped a 5-game losing streak. A shocking fourth quarter when they beat up on the Heat. They outscored them 40-23 in that fourth quarter to win 124-121 at home. They're 7-11 under Mike Miller. Bucks earned their third straight win Saturday. They kept that 4-game West Coast swing with a 122-101 win over the Blazers, and Giannis got hot. 32 points, 17 boards, 6 assists in 29 minutes. Teddy Covers, what do you think here in Knicks Bucks?
I mean, I'm rarely going to get involved in an NBA game with a point spread in this range. Occasionally, I mean, once you get above 15, I can't remember the last time I laid more than 15, and I don't often take more than 15 in an NBA game. The Bucks can dominate the game and control the flow throughout, and then the Knicks make a little run late, and then they're under the number. Or it could be a tight game throughout. Milwaukee, this much I know. Okay, I can't lay with Milwaukee here. I understand that they're very capable of destroying teams. I also know they were in a very similar spot like 2 weeks ago, coming back off a big road win. They blew out Chicago. They came home. They were laying 17 or 18, and they won that game by a bucket. I think it was against Minnesota. The point spread here is, it's too big. It's flat out too big. And I surely don't. I mean, the quotes after the Knicks coming out of that win against Miami were like they just won the championship. I mean, they were very pleased with themselves for that fourth quarter. So I know I don't want New York here. The good teams are going to take it to the Knicks, and the Bucks have already done that this season. But the price just is too high. And from a total standpoint, I don't feel it. I don't see it. It's not one that I've got an interest in whatsoever. Easy pass for me, Knicks Bucks.
D. Summers, our guy, D. Summers liking the Bucks on this huge spread, 16.5, and the under 227. And he has a question for you, Teddy. He says, does Teddy do teasers on NBA games?
I'm going to tell you a story about teasers. And again, it's an old story, but it's the true story. I was a small town, but I was an Ann Arbor bookie, and that's how I first got into the business. And we knew nothing. Me and my partner knew absolutely nothing. We were like, yeah, let's just start taking bets. We were working in a sports bar. We're like, people want to bet. Let's start taking bets. The first year we did it, teasers are 6 points, right? NFL teasers 6 points. We gave out 6-point teasers, not knowing you're only supposed to give out 4-point teasers in NBA. Okay, all year. It wasn't until the next summer that we moved out we came out, visited Vegas. We're like, oh my God. You know what happened in that year of giving out 6-point NBA teasers at minus 110? Nobody beat us. I never bet NBA teasers. Never, ever, 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 ever. I don't know any pros that do. I don't know any pros that bet college basketball teasers. The sharp money for teasers comes to the game where the lines are tightest. That's the NFL. And when you have key numbers you can get over, that's the NFL. And your 6-point teasers in the NFL, the pros play them to this day. But in basketball, there is no sharp teaser money. End of story. I don't bet them ever.
I love it. I love that answer. Very, very interesting. Shout out to our guy, D. Summers in the house. Great question. Let's move on to Rockets, Grizzlies. Capella will be back in the lineup for Houston. Houston opening up at minus 4.5. They're still there at Bookmaker. They're 5 everywhere else and 5.5 hanging at Bovada. This total at 238 has gone up a half point at 5 times. Still at 238. Juice to the over at Pinnacle. And we see 239s now on the board. Rockets pace last 5, third in the NBA. Grizzlies pace last 5, first in the NBA. And Capella will be in the lineup, so no Hartenstein breaking down the lane. Well, he'll play 10 or 15 minutes or whatever. Rockets coming off that 139-109 big win, easy blowout win over the Timberwolves on Saturday. They're a rested group. Memphis has won 5 straight, 12-6 since December 7th. This young Grizzly squad is playing good basketball, coming off Sunday's 122-102 home win over the sad sack Warriors. Teddy, Rockets, Grizzlies.
So this is probably the closest that I came to making a move today. I like Houston and I like over. The square side and the square side, but they both make a ton of sense to me. I haven't yet pulled the trigger on either one. I'm not convinced that I will. You talked about the pace, number 1 in pace versus number 3 in pace. It's very easy to picture a game here that gets into the, where the loser gets to $120. This will be a track meet between these two teams. However, Russell Westbrook's not playing tonight, which means Eric Gordon goes in the starting lineup for Houston, which means their bench isn't as good, which concerns me. The Grizz have won 6 in a row. They're the number 8 seed in the West right now. You talk about out of nowhere, a team that was supposed to be at the bottom of the lottery. Obviously, they played better basketball, but also they've been feasting on the weak. Houston is not weak. Houston is rested. Houston is ready. I worry about the Warriors matching the Grizzlies' intensity. It's a huge game for Memphis. But I also worry about, from Memphis' side, Houston going on a run and the energy coming out of that building. And, that's that. Lean Rockets, lean over. That's just, again, the closest I've come to making a move today is on this game. And I'm still debating side total. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I might. And if I do, I think side might be the better of the two. Maybe I'll put them together. I don't know yet. Still thinking about this one, but definitely lean Houston, definitely lean over. A lot of respect for Memphis, but this is a step up in class that I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to do.
MJ, wondering what that full game total is. It's open at 238. It's now up to 239 at most books. And the Utah-Brooklyn total is climbing as we speak now, 221.5 on the board there. Okay, let's move on to Mavericks Warriors. Dallas opening up at -8. That's where they stand right now. This total opening up at 223.5, and it's down to 222. Prince of the City saying Harden props, Gordon props. Yeah, the Harden props certainly make sense. I mean, Teddy, let's just stop for a second. When Westbrook's out of the lineup, Harden goes for these 40-point triple-doubles. What do you think about, I'm going to pull up the Harden prop so I can give you the exact numbers. Why don't we talk about Mavericks Warriors while you're talking? I'll bring up the exact numbers. Mavericks bounce back from back-to-back losses, Denver and the Lakers, to beat up on the Sixers. God, Sixers look bad on the road. Mavericks will play their 8th straight game without Porzingis. Warriors have lost 8 straight. D'Angelo Russell has come back, and he's lighting up, the offense, but man, these Warriors are a bad basketball team. Mavericks pace last 5 continues to slow. It's now 28th in the NBA. Warriors pace last 5, 3rd in the NBA. That's over at 9, almost 10 full possessions a game the Warriors have more than the Mavericks are getting. Mavericks Warriors here, Teddy, is there a move to make?
So this is the 3rd of my 3 leans that I haven't pulled the trigger on yet. And my lean here is Dallas. They hung a $140 in the first meeting against Golden State. They hung a $140 in the second meeting against Golden State. I think they won those 2 games by 60 points, or close to it. If Dallas comes to play, Dallas names the score. And of course, when you have an explosive offense like this against a bottom tier defense, you get $140s, and that's what the Mavs are capable of doing. However, when you start to look at Dallas off a win, first of all, the Mavs haven't been a great point spread team. They haven't been particularly good in the road chalk roll, or certainly on the bigger road chalk roll. And Dallas off a win has been a point spread disaster. You want the Mavs off a loss, off a win. I think they're 1-7 their last 8. They continue not to cover numbers. I lean Dallas here. They're, in theory, they can hang a $140 again tonight, but the intensity off the win hasn't been there like the intensity off a loss has been. I've been looking to bet Dallas off a loss, not off a victory. So it's a lean, not a bet.
Interesting spot here. With Draymond playing here, and he's not been good of late. Not been good. I wonder about the Warriors early. Tom Marino saying it as well, saying Warriors usually start decent, then fall apart late. You're talking about Mavericks coming in off of a win. Very interested. If you were going to I guess you're already leaning towards the Mavericks, so there's no spot that the Warriors are appealing to you. Okay,
None.
let's.
I mean, the Warriors are not an appealing team to me from a point spread perspective. Anytime you're betting Golden State, you're just the rationale behind your Warriors wager is, well, the other team's not going to show up. There's no positive. Oh yeah, this is the Warriors game. Oh, they're coming. Golden State's not coming. And they're like a halfway quote. I got a bunch of quotes from Steve Kerr at the halfway point of the season. And he's like, yeah, well, maybe next year. It's Golden. It's hard for me to find a rationale to bet on Golden State because they're not a team that has any good spots. They're just doing what they do, which is right now going through the motions.
It sure is. It sure is going through the motions, and now Draymond doing nothing at all. Interesting look from our Abe Brusham saying, no one's speaking about the way Grizz been playing lately. No Jaren Jackson last game, and lead changed 7 times. 2 months ago, the Grizz been balling, and we'll have Jaren for a double tonight to double up on Harden. And Astute Chaos liking Memphis early, first quarter or first half. I wonder if the look is if they're going to nonstop double Harden. I wonder if we go to assists and rebounds. That's at 17.5. Jesus, no bargain there. Okay, let's move on to Cavaliers. Lakers, excuse me, that was last night. Cavaliers, Clippers. Cavaliers on the second half of a back-to-back. They looked really good for a half and then got demolished in that second half. Outscored 81-51 in that second half. And no Larry Nance. He's missed 6 straight games with a knee injury. There's actually a possibility he comes back tonight. They're missing Kevin Porter as well. Clippers coming off 114-104 loss at Denver. They're 7-6 over their past 13. There'll be no Paul George in the lineup. What do you think of this spot, Teddy? Cavaliers, Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing, I'm laying. And again, Cleveland on the second of back-to-backs off a good half. And then, I mean, when you give up 81 points and get outscored by 30 after the break, the Cavs, that happens to the Cavs more than most teams, And now on the second of back-to-backs off a dismal showing against a team that's hungry and hasn't been playing particularly well. I know I don't want Cleveland. But the Clips aren't playing well enough right now to lay 15 with, and especially with no George in the lineup. Doc Rivers they're deep, but the rotations keep changing for LA. And, they're just, if I had to play the game, it would be Clippers before it would be Cavs. But again, when you start talking about laying 15 in NBA games, it's real easy to be controlled, maybe first half. That might be the way to look at the Clips in this game. It really might, with the Cavs off that, stinker last night and certainly not a team that has quality depth. The success that Cleveland had, the limited success, but they won back-to-back games, and they won it because Bayline shortened the bench and didn't put the scrubs in who are getting crushed every game. And this is the type of game we're going to see lots of scrub play for Cleveland, one would think, on the second of back-to-back. So I guess I lean Clips, but, again, 15 in the NBA is a mountain to climb. I rarely get involved in these contests.
All right, let's go back quickly to this Houston-Memphis spot. It feels like Memphis is just sort of getting disrespected. And I feel like 5 points, 5.5 of Bovada. I mean, Memphis is rolling. They're feeling good about themselves. This is a big game for them that they care so much about. And the Rockets don't care about this spot. I mean, Westbrook's not even in the lineup. But can we go back to why were you leaning towards the Rockets?
Okay, let's take a look at what's going on here with Memphis. All right, during this winning streak, they've beaten the Warriors. They got the Spurs on an off night, and they shot their lights out in that game. They beat the T-Wolves. They beat the Suns. And they had that game against the Clips where it all started. Where they had that big blowout in LA where Rivers got really mad after the game and said, "You guys didn't play any defense." But again, Warriors, Spurs, T-Wolves, Suns, their last 4. Clippers on a bad day. None of those are Houston. You understand? And when we talk about pace, Memphis playing with pace, they're playing against a team that excels at playing. No one plays with pace better than the Rockets. Sorry, I understand Memphis has been playing well of late, but this is what Houston does. So I look at Memphis isn't a mature team yet. I think they're a little bit fat and happy. I think they're running good. And if I was going to play them, first half makes a ton of sense. I don't even want them first half. I mean, the Rockets might take them out of this game. And oftentimes with the young teams, you say, oh, that step-up game, oh, yeah, they really want it. Yeah, but in those games, they're fragile. The other team goes on a run, and sometimes, oh, man, we just got smacked at home by the, I have my concerns about that mentality in this type of matchup. Houston's better than Memphis, okay? Memphis has been playing good. I got nothing bad to say about the Grizzlies, but I don't like the matchup tonight. I don't.
Yeah, I hear that. Rockets going into Portland tomorrow. I mean, I just don't see with the Capella heel injury that they're going to want to play him too much. And Hartenstein has stepped up a bit. I have yet to make a move. Stephen Lewis liking Memphis here. Memphis more gritty. Ski Prophet saying, do it, Jimmy. Trotwam says, I don't see the Rockets blowing them out. They struggled with Atlanta. Okay, so no moves yet for me on this NBA card, and no moves for Teddy Covers. Teddy, we've got to move on to college basketball. Did you get to the window with anything in college basketball?
Yes. There's one that really stood out. I got to the window with Virginia Tech today at -3 against Wake Forest. I think it's up to 3.5 right now. But it's two teams that are really heading in opposite directions. The Danny Manning era in Winston-Salem. It's been a little rough, and I'm not convinced it gets better. Of course, when you have a team like Virginia Tech that was supposed to be competing for last place in the ACC, and they're not, well, it takes a while for the market to catch up. I thought the price was very reasonable with the better team that has proven they can win on the road. So I took the Hokies and put the Hokies in my pocket. I didn't get there with Florida. I was tempted with Florida. The line got away from me this morning. That got bet up 11.5, and that's a little bit high for me. And I was tempted by Dayton tonight against VCU, and Texas Tech was the other one that stood out to me. But the one that I actually bet is Virginia Tech -3 at Wake Forest.
Teddy Covers on Virginia Tech, as is our next guest. Maxwell Smart tweeted out Virginia Tech -2. Got in on that line early. So,
good number.
Yeah, great number. And follow these guys on Twitter. And that is when you follow Max on Twitter, he puts these plays out very early or the night before. Teddy Covers and Maxwell Smart both on Virginia Tech, and we will start breaking those more action now with Maxwell Smart here in a second. Teddy Covers, thank you so much for joining us. Follow this man on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Teddy, exciting time of year. I know you're going to focus heavy on college basketball now, and I look forward to watching you work. Thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to have you back tomorrow morning.
The pleasure's all mine, Jimmy. Best of luck tonight. Go get them, low baggers. Have a great day.
There he is, Teddy Covers, and Prince of the City on that Eric Gordon over 15.5. Oh, no, talking about what he sees right now. Yeah, Harden is at 39.5 for the player prop. I mean, there's no bargains on Harden. And then there's Gordon at 15.5. I wanted to let us know what you pulled the trigger on, Prince of the City. I'd love to know that. All right, it is time for Maxwell Smart, fresh off back-to-back Play of the Day winners. Can you please roll our intro?
It wasn't until 2018 that the diamond in the rough went from hooligan to king of the world.
The guy couldn't play for shit, dog. He was awful. But can he cap? Guess he can.
Max, interesting to see you and Teddy on Virginia Tech. Let's start right there. Why are you back in Virginia Tech at -2 here?
This is a Virginia Tech team that definitely it's been getting down lately. I think that they haven't been playing a full 40 minutes, and being down double digits in 2 consecutive games and coming back is something that shows a lot of character and a lot of belief within the huddle. I think that Mike Young's doing a great job of coaching these guys up. Like Teddy said, this is a team that was thought to finish in the bottom 3 of the ACC, and they're not going to be there. I think that with this Wake Forest team, there are ways to beat this team. And the one way that you have to do is keep them off the free throw line. This is a Wake Forest team that leads the ACC in free throw attempts. They're second in free throw percentage. They have a very good bench. You have to get good production from your whole lineup against this Wake Forest team. And coming off a 31-point loss, I can understand why people are taking Wake Forest and why they see the value on the number. But at 2, when I bet Virginia Tech, Landers, Noli, and company, these guys believe in themselves. I think that this is a game that they have to win. And I think that if they can do a good job of playing perimeter defense, forcing Wake Forest to use the clock, letting them make their own mistakes, which we've seen them do many times already this year, I think that Virginia Tech gets it done on the road tonight. And that's just how it is. I have an edge. I play it. I'm not relying on what the consensus is. So if it loses, it loses. If it wins, it wins. It's just one bet on a volume card.
I hear that. And Matt Randall's play of the day is on the other side. Says Wake Forest will out-rebound Virginia Tech. Max and Teddy going up against the hot taint. All right, let's move on to another spot. Max, let's move over to NCAA basketball here at SBR Odds, the best odds page on the planet. Wow. Look at how the importance of line shopping. I agree with the Eric Gordon prop over, but it's at minus 150 at Bet365. It's at minus 115 at FanDuel. All right, Max, your next look is Louisville. You are backing Louisville. You got in at minus 5. Let's see what we're dealing with right now if you want to jump in on Louisville. On the road at Pittsburgh. Louisville opening up at minus 5. That's where Max got it. It's now at minus 6. Its total's gone from 128 to 129 at Pinnacle. Max, why are you on Louisville?
All right, well, this is a revenge game for Pitt, but this is a Louisville team that I think that had a scare against Notre Dame in their last road game, were able to prevail with a 3-point win. I think that tonight against Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, I think that this is just a matchup that doesn't work out for them. I think that when you look at Malik Williams and Steven Enoch, they are combined to average 19 points and 13 rebounds and shooting almost 50% from the field together. I think that with that combination, it's really going to give a lot of problems to Pittsburgh's front court. I think that with Xavier Johnson really coming out of his slump and Trey McGowan's being very good offensively and convincingly taking it to the rim and not settling for jump shots, I think that's definitely a pro. I just think that this Louisville team just has matchup advantages all throughout the lineup, whether it be Jordan Nwora at the small forward position or Dwayne Sutton on the glass. I think that Louisville wins this game on the glass. I think that they get a good enough amount of 3-point shots. And this is a team that's 30th in the nation scoring defense. So I look for the more defensive efficient team to take care of business tonight on the road in a possible revenge spot, knowing situationally Pittsburgh's going to be giving their best game.
I like that breakdown a lot, and I'm close to tailing it and rolling with you here. Okay, let's keep rolling along. I'm still looking to get a better spot on these props, and sure enough, Heritage is not giving us an Eric Gordon prop, which is surprising. All right, okay, let's keep rolling. Max, your next look is on Davidson minus 3. Davidson minus 3. They're at home against Richmond. Man, you're smashing market moves early. Already up to 5 at Pinnacle and 5 dimes, and you got it at minus 3. Great job. Why are you on Davidson?
I personally don't know why this line is moving the way it is. Blake Francis has not been confirmed out. He did play 30 minutes in the last game with the shoulder injury. So I'm anticipating that this is going to be a game that really goes down to the wire. We've seen Davidson and Richmond both play under-style type games so far in conference season. I think that with Davidson being 0-3 ATS, it's really easy to overlook the quality and talent of this team. I think there are a couple keys for them tonight, and one is getting Ha-Young Jung Lee involved in the offense. This is the guy that comes off the bench. He's a really good distributor. He's got a good 3-point shot, and he's got good size at 6'7". I think that's going to really come into handy. It gives a little bit of a break to Junior Carter Collins and Luka Brachovic. I think that you have to really, if you're Davidson, stay out of foul trouble, because this is a team that has lost a couple guys over the last couple weeks. I think that your depth is really challenged if you get into foul trouble. I think think that with John Axel Gudmundsson pretty much firing on all cylinders right now, getting on the glass, distributing the ball, and scoring points at the free throw line, I think that's a really good sign. I think that this Richmond team is definitely going to be very reliant on Nick Sherrard shooting the three-point bucket if Blake Francis isn't in the lineup, and then we get a lot more of Gilliard trying to score the basketball instead of just being a floor general and a ball distributor. In the end, my numbers favored Davidson by 6.5 points. At 3, there was more than 2.5 points of value. I think that Davidson's going to be able to take care of business at home. I understand that Richmond's a popular selection today, but by the numbers and by the eye test so far, especially watching that St. Joe's game, I think that Davidson takes care of business against a team that they have to be very concerned and on point about.
Very, very nice breakdown there. Max, bookmaker just moved Louisville down to 5.5. Oh, God. Now back to 6. Did not last long. That 5.5 was there for about 30 seconds. Max, what do you think of Louisville at 6?
I think that Louisville has definitely the potential to win this game by double digits. I had them winning this game by 8.5 points to 10 points. So I think that you're pushing my rule of 2.5 points of value by taking at the 6, but I don't think that you've gone too far yet.
Okay, great stuff. We have a ton of marquee games on this card, Max, and a question coming in from AM. VCU going into Dayton. We already heard Teddy leaning towards Dayton, not making the move. They're now ranked 13th in the nation. They open up at 8.5, quickly go down to 8. This total opened at 138.5. It's now down to 137.5. Again, I'm using Pinnacle openers. I'll move over to 5 dimes because I know that's how you generally do things, Max. But what do you think about Dayton here?
Listen, it's really hard not to like Dayton in this spot versus VCU. I think that the biggest question mark, of course, is everyone's thinking about what's Obi Toppin's ankle injury, what's the status of it, and look at what happened when Andrew Kostecka played for Loyola Maryland with it coming off an ankle injury. He was completely ineffective, and I don't think that Obi Toppin and him are the same player by any stretch, but I will say situationally, it does make sense. This is a VCU team that just lost to Rhode Island, a very surprising result. They shot a season worst 31% from the field and only made 21% of their threes. This is a team that if they get down, they have the ability to come back. I just don't think that against this Dayton team with the history going on between these two teams, that it favors them in the spot even at this number of 8 or 9. With Dayton, this is a team that is going to have their first game against a top 100 opponent. It's definitely been an easy schedule at UD Arena for Dayton so far, but this is a team in Dayton that has a lot of respect for what VCU's done. They're the defending champs, they're preseason favorites. This is a really important game for them to win, and I think that I would be looking at Dayton first half as a value. That's what I believe that the value is, but it wouldn't stop me from betting them full game. It's something that I have to wait, see what Obi Toppin's status is, and then I'll know better how to play this game.
A great answer for our guy, AM Plus Money, whom we're hoping we can get a play of the day video from this week. Next up for Max, very exciting spot here, LSU, Texas A&M. LSU is 6-point favorite opening up. They're now at 6.5 across the board. This total's dropped a point, or just a full point or a half point. A half point at Pinnacle, full point everywhere else. Max, you are backing Texas A&M here at home. Why is that?
Yeah, this is just a Texas A&M team that I think that is in a good situational spot to catch the Tigers. I don't think that they're going to beat the Tigers. I think that definitely coming off that stunning finish against Mississippi State with Skylar Mays driving to the bucket and hitting an 18-foot jumper was definitely a highlight reel winning game. I think that Charles Manning played fantastic in that game. You got great guard play. You got good depth with this LSU team. That's why I put you on a futures for them. But in this spot, I think that we're really underestimating the Aggies. We keep on doing it. They've held their last 2 opponents to below 50 points. This is conference basketball. They've really turned the coin. And Josh Nebo's leading this team. If you can't get him off the floor with early foul trouble, keep him off the glass and get him out of the frickin' paint so you can drive without him contesting every shot, I think it's going to be a major problem for LSU. On paper, LSU LSU's offense should be able to get going against A&M. But in this spot, I had to take what my numbers favored, even though my brain and my eye test was looking to get on LSU. I think that if this line goes below 4.5 to 4, or anything below that, then I'd be looking to middle. But at 6.5, I got to give the shot with the home team that's definitely turned the corner and is the better defensive team.
All right, let's keep rolling along. The next spot on Max's card is Akron. He's on Akron going into Northern Illinois. Akron opening up at -3.5, now -2.5. You did a nice move there. You got Akron at -1.5. Why are you backing Akron here?
Yeah, this is an Akron team that I've talked about on multiple occasions on the show. This is a team that I think is just fundamentally sound. They know how to play under pressure. They can come back from behind, which they did show in their last game. I was taking a lot of shit because Akron got down early. Well, I'm like, I didn't tell them to freaking fall behind. I didn't call them and be like, yeah, I got a bet on you guys. You guys should freaking stink it up in the first half. So this is a team that definitely showed some gall. I think that the way that they just can dismantle a team in the second half with good guard play, great perimeter shooting, and guys that know how to attack the defense for what they're giving them. I think that Northern Illinois definitely is someone to be feared upon. We've seen what they've done against Buffalo in the MAC opener, but I think that in this spot, at this number, it's Akron or pass, and I'm riding the team that's been putting units in my pocket, plain and simple.
I like it. Max, your next look is on a marquee matchup here in Duke-Clemson. Duke-Clemson. You are making a move on the over 135. This has gone up and down. It's now back down to 133.5. Max, why are you on the over here?
Yeah, I'm not worried about this line movement. Like, sometimes money is just moving stuff. That's what happens in college basketball. This is a spot where I see this game hitting 140. If it doesn't hit 140, then I'm an asshole. The plain simple fact is we're talking about a Clemson team that was averaging 66 points throughout the non-conference schedule. But as soon as we got into conference ball and over the last week, they've averaged close to 80. This is a Duke team that is way better defensively than North Carolina. They can play on the road. They can play with the lead. And as long as they find a way to establish Vernon Carey early on the inside and they contain Tevin Mack and Johnny Newman off the bounce, I think that they're going to have no problems with this Clemson Tiger team. I think that it could be close in the first half. I think that you're going to get some good pick and roll offense from Duke. I think that they're going to not fall in love with the 3-point shot. They're going to take it to the rim like they should. And I think in the end, Clemson's going to be able to get enough, and they're going to be down 10 or 12 points. They're going to foul, and we're going to get over 140. I'd be looking at even selling some points and taking it up at 135.5 at a plus price right now.
Very interesting look there, and down to 133.5. Man, maybe I make a move. Oh, I didn't realize, Max, you were also on the under in that Akron game, under 135.5. So Max doubled up there. Akron and Akron under. Okay, Max, we have questions coming in, and I know you want to make some additions. First question coming from Jeffrey Ryan. Wants to know about this Texas Tech spot. Let's find it here on the card. Texas Tech going into Kansas State. Texas Tech 3.5-point road favorites here, and this total's gone up from 121 to 125.5. Max, are you making? Do you have a move to make here? And can you help Jeffrey Ryan out to make a move?
I'm looking at Texas Tech in this spot, plain and simple. This is a Texas Tech team that shoots 43% from the field. They hit 75% of their free throws. What have I watched from K-State as of lately? Well, this is not the same team from last year. They do not have the consistency. They do not have the offensive fortitude to make buckets when they need one, and they just keep on falling short. This is a Texas Tech team that will allow K-State to possibly get to 60 points, possibly shoot 37% from the field, and I don't think they're going to put them on the free throw line all too much. This is also a spot where what's his name for K-State? Antonio Gordon. He's questionable. I think that he's a real important depth piece defensively off the bench for K-State. And then there's also question marks with Terrence Shannon Jr. But if you have Jahemus Ramsey in the lineup, I'm not really worried. I think that when you have Chris Clark coming into the starting lineup, he gives you good minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. And David Moretti, I'm just waiting for him to be the offensive juggernaut that we saw in a couple games, whether it be in the tournament, whether it be in conference tournament last year. on paper, by my numbers, Texas Tech is the only way to play this. It's not going to be an official play on the show, though, for me yet.
Next game Jeffrey's interested in. He loved hearing that. He said, that's what I'd like to hear. I'm all in on Tech. The next stop is Kansas. At Oklahoma, Kansas, 6.5-point favorites. He's wondering if you should pull the trigger on Kansas. Do you give him the green light?
Yeah, this Kansas spot is pretty simple for me. I got to figure out what the status of Devonta Dotson is, if he's going to be in the lineup for Kansas. I know that there's some heavy trends favoring Oklahoma in this situational spot, but this is an Oklahoma team that I think is going to really have a tough time shooting the basketball from the perimeter. I think that if KU turns this into a free throw shooting contest at the end, they do have an opportunity to backdoor cover. I don't think it'll be a complete rout for KU, but it's really about the question marks right now with Devonta Dotson and Marcus Garrett in addition to that. So if you don't have your point guard and you don't have your best perimeter defender, I can't back that team. I have to wait and see what the status of them is closer to game time, because we've been seeing lately college basketball coaches do not give a crap about letting us know what the injury status of star players or important players are for our betting perspective, and that's something you got to just watch and see first.
Matt Randall saying Kansas is the only play here. Okay, Max, there's additions that you're going to want to make, I'm guessing, and I've got a couple more questions from you from the chat. How should we proceed, because we don't have a lot of time?
I'm not really that big of a fan of this card from a number perspective. A lot of the spots that I've already bet have already moved off, and I wouldn't feel too comfortable giving them. So I'm really more just interested in answering a bunch of questions.
Let's do it. Question coming in from Sportsman of the Year, a.k.a. Lucky, this isn't a question. These are the plays of the day of these guys. Lucky Lefty. Conch Salad play of the day, Maryland Moneyline. Maryland Moneyline. This is a marquee game I wanted to ask you about, Max. What do you think of backing Maryland as a road dog here, 2.5-point dog against Wisconsin? This total's gone from 123.5 to 125.5. What do you think of Maryland on the money line?
Yeah, I'm not buying that. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid. I'll keep on betting and fading Maryland on the road, full game. Obviously I lost first half in the game against Iowa, but full game, definitely I'm going to be taking Wisconsin today. Bet it at 2.5. This is a spot where it's pretty simple. We've seen the emergence of Micah Potter come off the bench, be a real juggernaut. This is a Wisconsin team that's 5-1 since he entered the lineup. He stepped in for Nate Ruvers when Nate Ruvers got into early foul trouble against Penn State, and they ended a pretty important and significant winning streak for the Nittany Lions. So really impressed with the balanced scoring that the Badgers have right now. You got pretty much 5 to 7 guys that can give you double-digit points every game. And I just think that this Wisconsin team is going to be a really big challenge for Anthony Cowan and company if they don't score the basketball early. If they can't build a lead against Wisconsin, I think that they are going to just get stuck. I think that it's really important to also recognize that situationally losing that game against Illinois at home, having the lead and blowing it, I think that these guys are going to be out for some freaking retribution tonight. So I look for Wisconsin to win this game and cover.
Wisconsin to win and cover. Next spot here, I wanted to ask you about, Max, is our guy Noli Knows making a move on this Nebraska Ohio State under 138. This pops off at 6:30. This is the first game that pops off. The total opening at 139. It's now at 139.5. It's still at 139 at 5 times. What do you think of this under in Nebraska Ohio State?
Yeah, I agree with him when it comes to the under. I think that we've seen this Ohio State team really have some trouble when it comes to running free-flowing offense, and the ball keeps on sticking, and we're seeing the quality of shot attempts that they're getting. I think that this game really comes down to how Chris Holtman's going to use Andre and Caleb Wesson. If you use them inside and out, run the clock, really get Caleb good looks at the clock, I think that we're going to burn a lot of time just on Ohio State possessions. I think that on defensively, we've seen Ohio State really switch up the defenses and the kinds of pressure and trapping, and I think that's going to also help this under get home. I think that with Nebraska, we've seen a team really turn it on, but they've done really well at home, and then on the road, it's been a little more questionable. I think that this game stays in the 132 to 134 range, and at 139 or even 138, I think that there's enough value to warrant making that play.
Backing our guy Noli knows on the under. Matt Randall, I'll start looking at a couple different books. Jeffrey Ryan says, what's Mac's pick of the day? I need to win some big money. Mac's coming off back-to-back winners on the play of the day. Let's talk about some of these other marquee spots on this card, Max. And DePaul at Villanova is one of them. TCU at West Virginia is another one. Then we have San Diego State, Fresno State. Any of those games jump out at you that you want to talk about?
Listen, I'm down to talk about whatever the guys on the show want to talk about, but we got to go to San Diego State and Fresno State first. That is definitely my favorite game on the card. It was a game that I bet at 6.5. I'm not sure what it's at right now. Definitely open up your SBR odds page, and definitely also hit that freaking link in the description of the video to www.sbrvideo.com/thebag. Support the show, support Jimmy. I think that with the San Diego State team, this is a team that just has to be very fearful of what's going on tonight against Fresno State. This is a team that they just recently beat by 9 points at home. This is a team that played Fresno State without 3 guys. A guy from Oregon State, I can't remember his name at the time, but also without New Blackwell and without Nate Grimes. No Blackwell and Nate Grimes. I think that both those guys are coming back tonight, and this Fresno State team, listen, they're not impressive from a record perspective, but from a coaching perspective, Justin Houston knows the San Diego State team coming from them, and San Diego State's going to have to be on point tonight. If they're not on point, they could lose. I personally don't think it's going to happen. My numbers liked San Diego State more in this matchup than they did at home. I think that with the San Diego State team, you have Yanni Wetzel, you have Malachi Flynn, you have KJ Fagan that can score, get to the free throw line when you need a shot. I think that not having Mensah at 6'10" and in the front court, I think that could play a factor. But San Diego State is on a mission right now. I don't think that they're going to take this Fresno State team lightly. And in this situation, I don't think that there's enough reason to believe that there's going to be revenge. Definitely have to contain Orlando Robinson. Orlando Robinson is a game breaker type player. Take you out to the three-point line, take you inside, back you down, a little bit of free throw errors. But in the end, my numbers really favor San Diego State by this. I think that they got to be upbeat, ready for this, and know that the nation's watching. So San Diego State's the only play for me. I'd even back them on the first half.
Even backed them on the first half. Is that your play of the day?
No, it's not my play of the day. Because if there's no 6.5s, then I can't make it my play of the day. No, there isn't.
I get it. There's a -7 at Bet Online, but that's heavily juiced to -119. Well, we got to put a bow. Of course, Matt Randall, you can give it a second taint play of the day. More taint, the better. We need taint. Max, it is time now for your play of the day off of back-to-back winners on this play of the day. I can't wait to hear it. Max, take it away.
Yeah, this is a spot where I'm going to go down to the bayou in Louisiana, and we're going to go with Tulane. Tulane money line. We're going to pay the juice. We're going to pay the -122 on it. That's what I got at 5 Dimes. I got it at Sportbet, which is the sister site of 5 Dimes in Canada here. But this is a Tulane spot where I think that you're getting the best KJ Lawson that we've seen so far this season. You have Deshaun Hightower. You have Christian Thompson. This is a heavily transfer-heavy lineup, and I think that these guys are ready to go. I think that when we've seen this Tulane team, they're starting a nice home set against a team that in UCF where I think that they have matchup advantages. I think that with Colin Smith, you definitely have to fear his size, but he's slow. He dribbles high. He's likely to turn the ball over. And when I look at this UCF team, I think that they definitely impress me against lower tier competition, but they're 0-4 entering American play. They're coming off a really bad home loss to Cincinnati. They haven't been good on the road. And I just don't trust Cesar de Jesus to be the leading scorer on this team. Dejon Ingram, what are you doing? This UCF team just doesn't provide any value from an eye test perspective, from a statistical aspect, or from my created lines. And Tulane at -1.5 or on the money line at -122 is enough value to make my play of the day. So let's go for 3.
Let's go for 3. I'm going to jump on the play of the day, getting a -1.5 at -105 at Heritage. Max is taking it on the money line. I am taking Tulane here, -1.5 at -105, tailing Max's play of the day. And follow Max on Twitter at Maxwell Smart 420. Joel asking a quick spot with Richmond Davidson. We did touch on that game. Max got Davidson at -3. He got in early. It's now at -5. Now at -5. Follow Max on Twitter to get ahead of these market moves, because that's what he does. That's what he does. Max, thank you so much. I'm going to roll with you on Tulane, and I'm coming close to rolling with you on this Duke-Clemson over. I'm coming very close on the Duke-Clemson over. Was there another play that almost got to be your play of the day that you've already given out? Was there one that you were choosing between?
Not really. I was looking at TCU plus the points, and I was also looking at Missouri on the money line to go into Mississippi State and win. But I wasn't brave enough to give the Missouri money line play. And the TCU one, I thought, well, they had a really good they had a real good home game, but now they're going up against a really heavy front court, a defensive pressure type team in West Virginia. Maybe that isn't the best play to choose for the play of the day. I wish that I would have given out 139 on the DePaul Villanova over, but at 142.5, I can't do that now. So
great stuff.
There were a couple that I was considering.
Great stuff. Max liking also that under that Noli knows is on. And now Matt Randall saying that Nebraska team total under is one of his favorite taint plays of all time. So I'm gonna tail that a play that's being greenlit by Max that Noli's on, and here that Matt Randall is loving. So those are my 2 looks here in NCAA. I'm on Tulane -1.5, Max play of the day, and Nebraska team total under 6.5. We've got to get out of here, Max. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay hot. And I'm going to be tailing this Tulane play of the day and excited about it. There we have it. This is Max's action. Louisville -5, Davidson -3, Texas A&M plus 6.5, Akron -1.5, Virginia Tech -2, Clemson over 135, Akron under 135.5, and Tulane moneyline -122 is the play of the day. Yeah, sorry I missed that Prince of the City drinking heavily on Liveline last night, but I've got to catch up to my Twitter. I'm going to be doing that right now. Roman Peddle plays of the night. San Diego State -6.5, Tulane -1.5, Kent State -7, Tampa Bay Lightning -1.5, and Pittsburgh Penguins money line. And quickly, Astute Chaos on Dallas Golden State first half under 114, and Cleveland Clippers first half over 108. D Summers is on that Milwaukee under 227. The Gooch play of the day is Jazz -3.5. Lamont Williams max bet is the Clippers over 119.5. Spidey play of the day is the Coyotes money line. Taint Wake Forest money line. Noli knows on that Nebraska Ohio State under. The cash flow play of the day, Louisville Pittsburgh over 128, leading towards Richmond +5, Texas Tech -3.5, and he's also on Tulane. I only have 2 looks in hockey. Blackhawks -1 at +204, and the Lightning -1.5 at -105, and I'm close to a couple totals. I'm just going to wait and see about goalies being locked in. Bookie Bandit says, what's your favorite play, Jimmy? I love the value on the Blackhawks -1 at +204. I love going for the big score on the Blackhawks against the Senators right now, with the way the Blackhawks are playing and how they'll take the Senators seriously because they need wins right now. So I really, really like that spot. Max, thank you for joining us. Also, we had Parlay Poppy making his highly anticipated return to Betting with the Bag, as well as Teddy Covers. Max, my man, could you give us a leche and send us off to glory?
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. But remember, guys, hit that link in the video. It's real easy. Click, click, click. Do it a bunch of times if you have to. Do it for Jimmy. Do it for the show. Do it for SBR. And, of course, let's get that cash. And let's leche a los bookmakers.